And so when I say Chinese, I want you to scream out the nation that's associated with this. For example, if I say Chinese, you're going to say what?
China.
All right, let's say it with authority. When I say Chinese, you say what? China. All right, that's just a test right there. So here we go. Chinese.
China.
Russian.
Russia.
Italian.
Italy.
German.
Germany.
Swedish.
Sweden.
Korean.
Korea.
Egyptian.
Egypt.
Nigerian.
Nigeria.
Black.
Exactly. Nothing. Tell him, Pastor. Tell him, Pastor. Black, nothing.
I hope you were able to successfully identify the issue.
The lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. They want us to sell our souls to barter profit. Like God's property, it's hard to market. So we steady to aim, keep your eyes on target. Cause when you got to drive, yeah, they'd rather you park it. But I don't valet, you ain't getting these keys. I'm keeping closed hands, I'm on bended knee. I'm just a reflection, dealing with 8 sections. Art mixed with life, you can feel the convection. Your lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said the lion won't sleep tonight. 'Cause we woke now, and we woke now. I said
the same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
Most Egyptologists and anthropologists, archaeologists of the Eurocentric persuasion will say that Egypt is in Africa. They had to concede that, but then they still draw the line by saying that they weren't Africans like that. In other words, they weren't dark-skinned people. And of course, this is all part of the Great Deception. And the reality is that if they give up Egypt, ancient Kemet, if they give that up and say that that was a part of black Africa, then they will also have to give up Israel. And that's why they draw the line at Egypt, because if they give up Egypt, they've got to give up Israel.
Now, we're going to go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is northeast Africa. Now, when we look at this map, this is the Sinai, okay? This is the Red Sea. This is Egypt. This is the Sinai. This is Israel. All right, this is Saudi Arabia over here. Now, if you see this in Hebrew, it says Haluach Africani, the African plate. Here it is right here. Israel is sitting right here. Israel is sitting on the Haluach Africani, which means that Israel is northeast Africa.
Without question, we are in northeast Africa. We are landlocked to Egypt, with the exception of the Suez Canal, which was a man-made ditch, a boundary now between, in fact, it's not even really a boundary anymore since Egypt has reclaimed the Sinai Peninsula. But nevertheless, even those of us who are Pan-Africanists in our thinking and Afrocentric, we forget and we leave off that portion of northeast Africa and don't want to claim anything beyond that.
Europeans classified this area as the Middle East. You know, and then since this the Middle East, the other question, where the Middle West? Where the Middle North and where the Middle South? They don't have no geographical terms like that.
Wells comes face to face with the man he's been searching for. A new portrait of the common ancestor of every man today. Adam. Without a skull, we can't know for sure what Adam looked like. But a combination of genetic evidence, Bender's forensic skills, and cutting-edge computer software suggest he looked something like this. Thousands of years after the Bible, and hundreds of years after Michelangelo, we have a whole new face for Adam.
I was very excited when I first started to get evidence, and it was so counterintuitive. I'd put 20 Europeans and 20 African Americans on a sheet of X-ray film, and every African American showed differences, and all the Europeans looked the same. And I thought I'd mislabeled something, or I thought I'd made some drastic mistake. And we kept repeating and repeating things. As we got more samples from different areas, I realized that it was a difference in the pattern, and that this whole new type of evidence based on mitochondria was going to change the way we thought about modern humans.
Their bones were discovered in Kafse caves near Nazareth in Galilee in 1933. 13 fragile skeletons, one a woman, a tiny baby at her feet. When these bones were first uncovered, they were the oldest complete modern human skeletons ever found.
The numerous skeletons that have been found in caves in Israel at the sites of Kafse and Shkul show us that there were modern humans outside of Africa over 100,000 years ago. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor. Those modern humans may well have gone up the Nile corridor.
The same people that have stripped us of our identity and labeled us as a color have told us what it means to be black.
You know what you are? You're an ancient Israelite. Ancient Israelite, that's who we are. That's who we are. So if you give me time, if you give me time, but already no, we don't have so many years. I know. Look at this. This is pages and pages of notes, and I promise we'll give more teaching. But here is my challenge to you. All right. I'm hearing some of your traditions. It's like the days of the Bible. Yes. Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews? Do you want to remain ancient Israelites, or you want to be Jews?
But the CT scan has one more surprise for Alejandro. Shammai's ethnicity.
Well, they have just told me that Shammai had Nubian features, which means that their ruling family was probably Nubian, and that was unexpected.
Examining Shammai's anatomy closely, the thickness of his bones and the shape of his nasal cavity, the anthropologists think he was a black African, likely from neighboring Nubia. A huge revelation that challenges the prevailing image of the Egyptian ruling class.
We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. We always thought the ancient Egyptian elites were Mediterranean type. And in this sense, Shammai is representing the society of the frontier, in which different ethnic groups were mixed. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian. At the end, it doesn't matter the color of your skin. Shammai was Egyptian. At the end,
it just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
It does not matter what color Jesus was. What matters is that he came to the earth, lived a perfect life, died a death for the sins of the world, and then conquered the grave, proving that he is the Son of God. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
Hitler was, and the Nazis, of course, expanded on Margaret Sanger's approach to eugenics, right? Eugenics was a movement that was born in the United States under hard doctrines of racism with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them with the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
With the intent of eliminating the tribe of Judah in the African-American community in this country, right? To eliminate them.
It just doesn't matter. 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 It just doesn't matter.
Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you. If you repeat this fact, they can't laugh at you.
Want to say peace and blessings to everyone. Hope and pray all is well with you guys. Still trying to get used to my new setup. Really reorganizing my office here. Got some new equipment here. About to switch this mic out as well. You're going to see some differences in the office. Even the camera. You see the camera is a lot different too. A lot clearer. The lighting is a little different. So I'm still trying to adjust the light to see what's good for the presentation. So I really appreciate you guys for the love and support and supporting this platform. I tell you, without you guys, my wife and I, we would just be taking a walk by ourselves. And so before we get going, I want to get back to a thing that I would normally do is I like to give shout outs to you guys. I like to go through the chat and just give some shout outs to you guys because, again, you guys have, many of you guys have been with me from the very beginning. Sister Carol, she was following me on Facebook and saw a lot of the crazy stuff that I began to deal with. Also with Faith Music, my boy Stokes out in Georgia. Family, if you haven't heard of his music, get his music, Faith Music. So many of those guys like Sister Carol, my buddy Stokes, Faith Music, they can tell you some of the suppression I had to deal with on YouTube. I mean, they really suppressed the channel so bad. It was so bad to the point that when I would go live, within 3 minutes, they'll kick me out of my own live. And they began to throttle the bandwidth to make it look like the cameras that I was using, the internet was like on a 28K modem. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Those old school, like I was using AOL or something. So they really did a lot to suppress the channel. And so Sister Carol, she made the recommendation to transition from Facebook to YouTube. And I tell you, with these past 4 years, it's been incredible growth because that's when I actually started taking the channel serious in terms of this platform serious. And we've doubled in numbers every year, to start from, I believe the first year was like 700 subscribers. And then within the following year, we went from 700 to like close to 4,000 or 5,000. And from that to like 15, 20,000 and from 40,000 to 80,000. I mean, we've been doubling, pretty much at a very fast pace. And that's not the norm for many YouTube channels or should I say content creators. And I just really appreciate you guys because, my goal has always been is to teach this truth, not in the conventional way that we've been accustomed to hearing the truth. And also go into the places that many are scared to delve into in terms of conversation and exposing these poor doctrines of theology. And that's really where I concentrated at with my degree in divinity. I just really wanted to focus on the theology. That's where I really focused on, because I wanted to know what are the different arguments of the pastors. I wanted to know what's the origin of their methodology and what they believe. So I think that's very important for every pastor. I was sat up under a bishop that had multiple pastors underneath it, and so many of the pastors were teaching different theologies. And when I brought that to his attention, of course, he didn't take heed, and the entire organization suffered because of that. So for me, it's not, for me, it's not about trying to, have certain titles or anything like that. It's all about this truth, especially waking up to understanding the deceptions, removing myself from that. And you can still see some of the pictures of when I was still in Christianity, and wearing the collar, the eldest collar, and all that other stuff. And I literally, you can even see the picture when I refused to wear it. I wore it. It was one service that really just I said, enough is enough. I was supporting an organization. It was a group of pastors, and they had ordained, without my knowledge that they were going to do, ordained someone that was that battled with homosexuality. And I couldn't be part of that. And I refused to wear my collar. I refused to do those things. So I thank the Most High for Sister Carol for making a recommendation. And I thank the Most High, Yah, for all of you guys, because again, it's not an easy transition like people may think it is. I dealt with a lot of ridicule, especially when I did the Black Lives Matter speech. I dealt with a lot of ridicule leading up to that from people that I helped keep ministries afloat, help keep their ministry doors open, help them even build their ministries from scratch. And then they begin to turn their backs on me. But nevertheless, I really appreciate you guys. I see a few heads that have been with me from the beginning. I also see Angela Caraway. She's been following me for quite some time, from the very beginning, I believe, as well. So, but I really thank the Most High for you. Jay Highstyle in the building. And before we go on, and I want to address something too. You guys know that I made a post about, I uploaded a video with a guy, can't remember his name, Don Von, I can't remember his name, but about being here before Columbus. And I purposely titled it Hebrews were here before Columbus. And family, we're just going to have haters, even with this an awakening. Sometimes it could be nerve-wracking, because you have so many that can take on the mantra of self-hatred. They just love this self-hatred. It's so super negative. I had actually people posting comments saying that, how do we know? Initially, when they thought that I was referring to just going to depend on Mansa Musa, his brother, they were like, well, just because they're Black or African basically doesn't mean that they are Israelites, doesn't mean that they're Hebrew. And I said to that person, and a couple of individuals, that's why I made posted the posts or comments there, a disclaimer, giving some additional sources. And I said that, hey, you know what? James Adair, and I got plenty of sources. James Adair discovered indigenous people here before Columbus, and made it clear in his works, the American Indians, based upon the indigenous people that he came across in South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, those areas, Mississippi, those areas. And he made it clear that they spoke Hebrew. They were saying, instead of Yahweh, they were saying Yehovah. Instead of saying Yahweh Shai, they were saying Yahweh Shai. They were also saying Yahweh Shu. They was also saying Yahweh She, referring to Christ. And he also made it clear and referred to them as being Hebrews. But then you have the negativity of some of this individual and others trying to pivot and saying, well, how do we know that they're not Edomites? You know, it's like one side of the fence, they want to say the white man is Esau, the Edomites. But then when you prove that our people were here, you know, and this is when you start understanding the Seminoles and all the, you know, our people were here, Negroes, indigenous here, that travel here. All of a sudden, now everybody's Esau. Family, we have to stop. We have to stop. We have to stop. All right. But couple of books. You know, this is a great book. I'm working on something to put an audio video together to highlight this book, because this gives you some great information about some Israelite Native Americans or indigenous people. I'm not saying all indigenous people here are descendants of Israel. That's not where I'm going at with it. But this does highlight some within here. Lost Tribe of the Promised Land, or excuse me, Lost Tribe in Promised Land by Ronald. Let me pull it up. Move here, Sanders. Let me pull it up to the screen. This is a great read right here. Also, the video that you heard or that I uploaded earlier, and I kind of uploaded it twice, really. But this is his book right here. They Came Before Columbus. This is a great read right here. He really gives some great information, and he exposed so much, as you heard in the video. The video, he exposed a lot in the video, but he goes in as well on the in this book. All right. So these are some great reads. Also, as I pointed out, James Adair, he has a great book on the American Indians, and he literally goes in about the Hebrew culture and described them as being copper. Come on, family. Bronze, copper, that, enough said about that. And then also one last book. You know what? I took it down. But it's a book that I have called The Original History of America, Original History of Ancient America. That's a good book as well. And it really highlights and basically go into the details, like I pointed out, about James Adair. These are not discoveries, but what do you want to call it? Now I can't think of the term I want to use, but these are guys that that went out and they just I forgot the term. Now I can't think of the term. I said discoverers, but it's another term for that. But these guys went out to different territories, different areas, and they came here. Like James Adair was a Sephardic Jew per se. Now I want to make it clear: Sephardic doesn't necessarily equate to dark melanated. That's what many tend to do. You have Khazarians that converted, that took on the term Sephardic. I just want to be clear with that. I have some additional sources on that. Explorers, that was the word I was looking for. So you had explorers that, James Adair was a Sephardic Jew. He specialized in the Hebrew languages, ancient Hebrew, and he recognized the languages that some of them were speaking in. All right, but let's go on and get into it, family. I just want to kind of give you a preface this with that. But matter of fact, before we get into it, let me give some shout outs. Don't want to forget some of you guys here. Let me give a few shout outs, then we'll get right into it. I can't get you all in, but I can get as much as we have. As much as we can, because of the chat is going pretty fast here. All right, so let's see here. Let's see. Let me move my mouse. Right, there we go. Let's see here. Finally aware of you. Thumbs up before you get started. Dwayne Butler, shout outs to you. Good evening, Pastor Richardson. Thank you and the family. Love you all. Shalom. Peace and blessings to you. Really appreciate you. Dina Ya. Salama. Miss Akka. Right. I want to say salama to you as well. I want to say peace and blessings to In Focus to See. Peace and blessings. Thank you for the love and support. Really appreciate you. Fresh Spring 98, shout outs to you. Let's see here. Maureen Linham Woodson, really appreciate the love and support. Shout outs to you as well. Really appreciate you. Hallelujah. Shalom to you. Let's see here. Ivan, shout outs to you as well. Hat Da'a, salute. Miss Paka, I want to say peace and blessings to you. Of course, my buddy Stokes, aka Faith Music. Shalom, shalom to you as well. Appreciate you. Dennis Allen, shout outs to you. Shout outs to my brothers, as you say here, Black Israelites. Shout outs to our people as well. Jay Heistyle, my buddy in the building. Jay Heistyle, shout outs to you. We got to get caught up. Got to reach out to you offline. Been meaning to do that. Things have been so hectic. Hallelujah. A body for Yah. Hallelujah. Let's see here. Lakina Yah. Shalom to you. Trayvon Smith. Just want to say shalom to you. Let's see here. Because you can. Want to say peace and blessings to you as well. Georgetta Pennick. Want to say peace and blessings to you. Shalom to you. And let's see here. Denise Bird. Shout outs to you. Shalom to you. Let's see here. Ash Smith. Also, shout outs to LaRonda Thomas. Johnny Johnson. Man, just made me think about an old high school buddy. Want to say shout outs to you. Yes, it matters. It always matters. Yeah, it made me think about an old high school buddy, Johnny Johnson. As sometimes we used to refer to him as Big Ben. All right. Tanya Pearson, peace and blessings to you. Fresh Springs, shout outs to you. And I appreciate the lighting. Appreciate it. So I'm going to keep my lighting here. All right. Because it can, does do a lot when you're using different cameras. And then, of course, I got this white hoodie on so it can make it brighter. But appreciate it. Let's see here. LaRonda Thomas, shout outs to you. Let's see here. Angela Caraway, shout outs to you. Peace and blessings to you. Emma Horton, shout outs to you, or Emma Horton. Who else do we have here? Joe Joke or Joe Joko, shout outs to you. I'm not sure with the turkeys and nothing like that. We don't, not rolling over here with that Thanksgiving stuff. All right, let's keep it moving. Fatima, shout outs to you. Neanderthal, primate, obsessive, sociopath, doing what they do best. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Who else do we have? I'll get a couple more in and we'll get started here. Let's see here. Just looking through here. Let's see here. Suri Ya Bat Yisrael. I want to say peace and blessing to you. Excellent video. Yes. Yes, I really appreciate it. Had to upload it, re-upload it to put the more context within it. All right, Brian Johnson, shout outs to you. Hebrew Foundation, shout outs to you. Indigenous Black Man, peace and blessings to you. Actria Phillips, peace and blessings to you. A couple of more here. Let's see, a couple of more here. Blackjack, shout outs to you. Great seeing you here. Really appreciate the love and support. Let's see here. Astro, doesn't that prove history? Second Ezra. Yeah, I got some things I'm going to cover. Not tonight, but I want to deal with Second Ezra. I appreciate it. Crunchy Boy Archaeology. I want to say peace and blessings to you. Last one. Let's see here. My brother, Berean Scholar, shout outs to you. Family, go check out his channel. He a lot of content that he's putting up. So I encourage you guys, go tune into his channel. He's putting a lot of great material up. Let's get him up there. Let's show our love support for him. Berean Scholar, drop your link inside the comment section. Excuse me, so that people can go check out your channel. So we can continue to promote it here. Really appreciate it, family. But what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get into it. All right. Really appreciate, again, the love and support. Let me scroll all the way down here. And let me stretch the screen out. All right. If I can. There we go. All right. This is our topic for today. This is our topic for today. Our topic for today, not our Thanksgiving, celebrating your demise. Let me say this again. Not our Thanksgiving, celebrating your demise. I'll say it one more time. Not our Thanksgiving, celebrating your demise. And it's amazing when we think about the church, how we all been institutionalized to celebrate things that are not biblical. Celebrate Thanksgiving. This is not the Thanksgiving of the scriptures. This Thanksgiving, I'm going to show you, share some sources with you to show the origins of this Thanksgiving. You know, we're going to give clarity on that to show that this is a man-made Thanksgiving that has nothing but blood, innocent blood all over it. From the indigenous people in this country, and some of them were our ancestors, as well as, our brothers and sisters, our elders, the generations before us. So we just have to, really shed light on this deception. We've been taught Stockholm syndrome, as well as cognitive dissonance, as well as herd behavior or herd mentality, all wrapped up into one to put or place strongholds on us. So let's go and build. Let's go and get into this, because we got a lot that we have to unpack here. A lot, but it's going to be simple. All right, let's get started. I want to say this to you, my brothers and sisters. You've come too far. Don't look back, Negroes. I know that's a little humor, but family, we've come too far for you to want to look back or go back into the very things that were the very devices that was used to enslave us. And I know the image that you see in the background looks very scary with the hatchet, or axe. This person looking like a colonizer or pilgrim. But this is nothing compared to the things that our ancestors had to deal with. But we come too far. But I want to start off with Frederick Douglass. I want to start off with Proverbs 3, verse 31. Let's start with here. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. Now, the scripture didn't say, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose some of his ways, or not all his ways. It says, choose none of his ways. This oppressor, right, is very crafty. These oppressors have managed to take our dirty dime, made us feel real bad about our dirty dime, to give up our dirty dimes for their shiny objects. And we see this echoing in every facet of our community. From how we, at one time, it was laughable to even think about Negroes getting implants, whether it's lip implants, whether it's, butt implants, whatever the case may be. At one time, that was something to laugh at. And now we have brothers and sisters that are doing those things. The very things that come natural to us, we're taking it for granted. We're taking it for granted. We are taking it for granted. Bear with me 1 second, family. Let me get something here. I need to take a quick break. Let me run and get something real quick. All right, bear with me 1 second. I'm going to take a pause here. I'm going to show a video real quick, but I need to take a break here and run and get something. Actually, really my power supply, and I don't want my laptop to go dead. Bear with me 1 second. Let me run upstairs. I'm going to throw this video on real quick. Where's my mouse? I'm trying to find my mouse. Anyway, let me do it this way. Bear with me 1 second, family. Let me just share this video, and I'll be right back. I'm gonna hit the mute button, but let me show this video real quick. All right, where is it? I'm gonna show you this video of this bishop, so-called bishop, using plagiarizing a witch with so-called prophecies. And in this video, I did a comparison. But let me run and get my charger before my battery go dead. Here we go.
Before I even get started, I do want to tell everybody that 2015 is going to be a very, very dramatic year. And so let's begin. This is my 2015 predictions. And again, I did this on 2/8/14. Now, the first thing that I got is pork contamination around the world. There will be a new strain of pork disease. People will be afraid to buy pork, and much less will be consumed. The pork business will take a hit.
I want to tell you, the Lord says, stay away from pork next year. He didn't tell me that not so much because it's not good for you as much as, it really ain't good for you, but more because there's a disease gonna hit the pigs.
Now, the second thing I got was watch George P. Bush rise in politics in 2015. He has the charm and personality of his father Jeb and the intelligence of his grandfather. But as George P. Bush's political star rises, his grandfather George Sr. diminishes. I see George Sr.'s health taking a turn for the worse, and he does cross in 2015.
When George P. Bush was going to rise to power, I believe that's Jeb Bush's son, he said to me that the daddy, President Bush Sr., like I saw him. I saw his health take a turn for the worse, and ultimately he got out of here.
Now I see a health scare for the Pope. He will be fine though. The Pope is a very special man and will do much good. I feel very positive about him. However, the next Pope is not good. I'm getting the phrase dark Pope around him. So this is it, people. This is it as far as popes go. I mean, this man is a wonderful man, and he will bring the dignity back to the Catholic Church. He'll clean out the Catholic Church, and he'll be around for a long time. And he is of service. That's why he's here. But after him, that's it. The next one's a dark Pope. That's it. So you heard it here first.
You told me, just mark my word, there's going to be a health scare on the Pope, but he'll be fine. It's not going to be bad. The Lord spoke to me and told me, as crazy as this Pope is, a lot of people trying to say this is the evil Pope and all that stuff. But the Lord told me that this Pope will be around for a minute, but the next Pope we need to really be prayerful of. Very dark, not good.
All right, family, appreciate it. I know you guys heard that craziness of a pastor actually plagiarizing a witch, literally. Literally. All right, let me look at the comment section real quick. See if I missed out on anything. All right. All right. So let's go to get into it. So yeah, he was stealing from a witch, literally. Literally. Shout out to my brother Greg. I'm gonna say peace and blessings to you, my brother. Really appreciate you. We gotta connect offline. I know it's been a few weeks, but we gotta connect for sure. All right, family, let's get started here. Get back into it. I'll rewind it a little bit to double back for those that have just joined us. This is coming from Proverbs that you see on your screen. no, not Proverbs, but Psalms. The one, well, actually not Psalms. It's actually Proverbs. Let me go back. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. And it reads, envy not thou the oppressor, envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. All right. And what's interesting is how we've been institutionalized, we've been deceived to actually envy the oppressor and want to do everything that the oppressor is doing. Don't want to let go anything that is proven to be created by the oppressors that's not biblical. All right. Also want to point out the 137th book of Psalms, starting at verse 3. Actually, really, I'm going to start at verse 1. This is coming from the Tanakh. By the rivers of Babylon, and this is our people to a T. Every last one of us that's watching right now, especially when it comes to thinking about our ancestors, thinking about the history of ridicule that we deal with, not just in this country, but around the world, from the name stealers mocking us. That's right, the name stealers. What I mean by, y'all know who I'm referring to as the name stealers, but mocking us. I think I have a video of the name stealers that mock us. They can mock us and get away with it, but really have a tendency of crying foul if you critique them in any kind of way or respond to their mockery. Now, here's an example of the name stealers mocking us, and I'm going to show you how this can relate to what I'm getting ready to go into the 137th book of Psalms.
נחשף ביערות בורקינה פאסו שבקניבלים נטו נטו. שלום למנהיג השבט קזבובו.
שלום עליכם. אברהם יצחק יעקב. יודע עברית, שולחן, חשבונית, קובי פרץ, מותחלס, יבוטאו.
מר קזבובו, כולנו כאן בישראל מופתעים ונרגשים נוכח האפשרות שתעלו ארצה.
קזבובו שמח. 2000 שנות גלות נגמר. רואים אור בקצה של מנהרה.
אתם בטוחים שאתם יהודים?
התחלנו על חנן. אם הוא שחור הוא לא יהודי?
לא בגלל שהוא שחור, הוא...
מה הוא מה?
קניבל.
ומי אתה שתגיד לו מה לאכול, אם הוא קניבל, הוא לא יהודי?
אולי תבוא, תעשה אצלנו שבת?
זה לא שיש לי משהו אישי נגדכם, אבל הפלשמורה למשל תקועים...
להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם, אבל אף אחד לא מאמין לנו. אנחנו גזענים כדי לרצות לשמור על החיים שלנו ועל השפיות שלנו. אז אני גאה בלהיות גזענית, אם אני גזענית בשביל לשמור על החיים שלי, אז אני גאה.
לכי את והוא! תלכי מפה! תלכי! את תשואה עם קוצ'י, לכי! לא מתפייתם!
So they are good with throwing rocks and hiding their hand. They are good at throwing rocks and hiding their hand. So these are some of the things that we've had to deal with from all people. All people. So this makes me think about this passage here. This is coming out of the Tanakh, the 137th book of Psalms, starting at verse 1. It reads, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat and wept, as we thought of Zion. There on the poplars, we hung up our lyres, for our captors asked us there for songs, our tormentors for amusement. Sing us one of the songs of Zion. In other words, they're trying to get us, our ancestors, to sing our sacred songs to them for entertainment. That's what they are saying in this passage. It goes on to say, how can we sing a song of Yahweh on alien soil? If I forget you, O Jerusalem, let my right hand wither. Let my tongue stick to my palate if I cease to think of you. If I do not keep Jerusalem in memory, even at my happiest hour. And so just to summarize or give you an overview of the text that I read, the Babylonian captors and colonizers demanded that the Israelites entertain them by singing the songs they had sung joyfully in Zion. These faithful Israelites refused to sing, stating, how can we sing the Lord's song or Yahweh's song in a foreign land? Their spirits were crushed by the overwhelming weight of the people's sin and Yahweh's subsequent judgment on the nation. So how could they sing while Judah, Jerusalem, and the temple lay in ruins? Doesn't it sound familiar? Doesn't it sound like our people? Think of the very things that the oppressors did for our people. Think about the things that they had to that they forced us to do for their entertainment. From raping, molesting the men, the women, our children, from watching us murder each other in front of their faces for entertainment, ripping us up by the limbs. And one of the gross things that I read was it was one plantation, what they would do for entertainment. They'll put a slave inside a barrel, and here's the kicker: the barrel will have spikes all in it, all around it on the outside, nailed into it. They'll place the slave inside that barrel and then push the barrel down the hill. So by the time the slave makes it to the bottom of the hill in that barrel, they're like chopped meat. Those are some of the things. Or take the women, pregnant women, dig a hole in the stomach, have them lay on the ground with their stomach inside the hole, beat them, or cut open their stomach, just to see, gambling on how long will the fetus survive. All kinds of things that they did for entertainment. How could we sing while Judah, Jerusalem, and the temple lay in ruins? And they still, wanted us to entertain them for us singing songs and things. Man, these are the things that we had to go through. And that's just a tip of the iceberg of what they put us through. But think about it. How could they sing while Judah, Jerusalem, and the temple lay in ruins? How could they sing when they were banished from Yahweh's presence? Another important reason these Israelites would not sing, they refused to defile the sacred songs of Yahweh for the amusement of these colonizers. See, we have allowed encoded sacred songs of our ancestors who wrote specifically for who wrote for us, now specifically being used to entertain our oppressors. Excuse the typo. I got to do a spell check here. So we have allowed encoded sacred songs by our ancestors, wrote specifically for us, to be used for entertainment by our oppressors. These songs that are now called Negro spirituals. You see the mockery even in a lot of movies about the what church, right? About who? Being mocked from every angle. Think about blackface and all of, what they've done. The stereotypes that they promote. And the name stealers were the ones that was the biggest group of people that did blackface. Joel Osteen was a name stealer. And he was considered to be the world's greatest entertainer. I want to turn your attention to Frederick Douglass, My Bondage and My Freedom. I want to touch on a few things that he highlighted. And I'm going somewhere with this. This is on page 98. Slaves are generally expected to sing as well as to work. Think about that. Think about what's that? Is it the Seven Dwarfs? No White and the Seven Dwarfs? Whistle while you work. Da 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 da. Slaves are generally expected to sing as well as to work. Makes it says here, a silent slave is not liked by masters or overseers. Make a noise, bear a hand. Sound familiar? Sound familiar how certain things that was how can I put it, hacked into our DNA by way of traumatic experiences, and now guess what we do? We exhibit these behaviors even in the music and even in entertainment. This sounds familiar, right? Come on, family. We all been out there in that world. What are one of the things that the DJ normally tell you to do? To do what? Make some noise, right? Y'all know what I'm talking about. And not just make some noise, throw your what? Hands up in the air. Why do we get so excited about that? Think about what Frederick Douglass is sharing here. Make a noise, bear a hand. In other words, show your hands. Another plug here, those white gloves, you see that's being worn at the so-called Holy Communion. Those white gloves comes from slavery. Our ancestors had to wear white gloves in the church so that way the master can see that they're not stealing anything. That's where it comes from. But because of how we've been wired, because of how we've been programmed, we still continue to promote and push things that was hacked into our DNA, and we continue to utilize the very things that the enemy used to insult us. So a silent slave is not liked by masters or overseers. Make a noise, and bear a hand. Are the words, now peep this out, are the words usually addressed to the slaves when there is silence among them? This may account for the almost constant singing heard in the southern states. There was generally more or less singing among the teamsters, as it was one means of letting the overseer know where they were and that they were moving on with the work. But on allowance day, those who visited the great house farm were peculiarly excited and noisy. This they would sing with other words of their own improvising jargon to others, but full of meaning to themselves. I have sometimes thought that the mere hearing of those songs would do more to impress truly spiritual minded men and women with the soul crushing and death dealing character of slavery than the reading of whole volumes of its mere physical cruelties. They speak to the heart and to the soul of the thoughtful. I cannot bear express my sense of them now than 10 years ago, when in sketching my life, I thus spoke of this feature of my plantation experience. So Frederick Douglass is clear that the songs on the lips of some meant the expectation of worlds of spirits or spiritual world. But on the lips of slaves, it meant a speedy pilgrimage towards a free state, deliverance from all evils of the colonizers and slavery. So he goes on to say on page 277, often relying on their superiority, or should I say superior position in wisdom, they hectored and tortured the slave into a confession by affecting to know the truth of their accusations. You got the devil in you. Now think of these behaviors. Listen here. This is the stuff that you hear right now, that our people are quick to call out on our own people. Have you guys dealt with this before? You leave a ministry, you got the devil in you. You disagree with whatever's going on in that ministry, you got the devil in you. You got the devil in you. Where did it come from? As you see here, the slave owners. Often relying on their superior position and wisdom, they hectored and tortured the slave into a confession. In other words, bullying them into fessing up for something that they didn't do. Sound familiar? Central Park 5, that many of our own brothers and sisters, in a nutshell, still support Donald Trump, even though he is unapologetic about any of that. But nevertheless, anyway, not getting into the politics here. But look at here. You have got the devil in you, say they, and we will whip him out of you. Think about some of the beatings that we received as kids. A lot of that is handed down from the slave masters. I have often been put thus to the torture on bare suspicion. This system has its disadvantages as well as their opposite. The slave is sometimes whipped into confession of offenses which they never committed. Let me read that again. Slaves is sometimes whipped into the confession of offenses which they never committed. Sound familiar, family? Central Park 5 and many others of our innocent brothers and sisters that have been incarcerated. The reader will see that the good old rule, a man is to be held innocent until proved to be guilty, does not hold good on the slave plantation. Let me say that again. Does not hold good on the slave plantation. Suspicions and tortures are the approved methods of getting at the truth here. So Frederick Douglass is clear that also when you read his biography, his autobiography, you'll see that he's clear that Cain or Canaan to some slaves meant the North, but to other slaves, it meant the desire to return to Africa, right? So let's point it out real quick. It says here, I am the more inclined to think that he suspected us because prudent as we are, or we were rather, as I now look back, I can see that we did many silly things, very well calculated to awaken suspicion. We were at times remarkably buoyant, singing hymns and making joyous noises, making joyous exclamations. Let me read that again. We are at times remarkably buoyant, singing hymns and making joyous exclamations, almost as triumphant in their tone, as if we had reached a land of freedom and safety. A keen observer might have detected in our repeated singing of "O Canada, sweet Canada, I'm bound," not Canada. Let me try it again. I'm rushing. Let me slow it down. "O Canaan, sweet Canaan, I am bound for the land of Canaan." Something more than a hope of reaching heaven. We meant to reach the North, and the North was our Canaan. I thought I heard them say, there were lions in the way. I don't expect to stay. It meant the expectation of a speedy summons to a world of spirits. But in the lips of our company, it simply meant a speedy pilgrimage toward a free state and deliverance from all the evils and dangers of slavery. So what is the meaning of some of the key words in these encrypted songs now labeled as Negro spirituals? What's the meaning behind them? I was going to place them inside here, but I didn't want to spend too much time on this. I'm going to do a special lesson again dealing with the spirituals, so-called Negro spirituals. All right. But these songs were filled with warnings, filled with reminders of their true ancient Israelite identity. You know, these songs is filled with a lot of encoded messages of warnings such as the slave masters are chasing after them, warning to get into the water, wade in the water, to throw off the scent of the dogs, in which they would have hush puppies. Y'all know what hush puppies is. Those hush puppies were thrown at the dogs that was chasing them to throw them off from attacking them. Think about how they, branded hush puppies from shoes. I remember they had hush puppy shoes. all the way to the snacks, the bread. Anyway, so what songs have they forced us to sing? Think about it. What songs have they forced us to sing? Nevertheless, one last point I want to point out before we get into some key information. Jeremiah 10, verse 2, hear the word which Yahweh has spoken to you, O house of Israel. Thus saith Yahweh, do not learn to go the way of the nations, and do not be dismayed by their portents in the sky. Let the nations be dismayed by them. For the laws of the nations are delusions. Let me say that again. That's the point I want to point out. Israel was warned that the laws of the nations are delusions. Then it goes to deal with the Christmas tree that many try to celebrate, many try to honor, many try to hold on to, but we're not going to deal with that tonight. But what is Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? What is Thanksgiving? What is the origin of the American Thanksgiving? That's what we're going to cover tonight. Should we celebrate Thanksgiving? You guys already know the answer. But should we celebrate Thanksgiving? I want to start with 2 Timothy, starting with chapter 4, verse 3. I want to read this real quick. It reads, for the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. We're living in those times right now. But after their own lusts shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. We're living in a time right now, are we not? Whatever things you don't want to let go, there's a teaching for it. Even in this awakening, whatever you want to believe, there's a teaching for you. When I was in the church, still in Christianity, you had, if you want to go to church once a month, there are actually churches that only come together and open up once a month. If you want to do it every other week, there's churches for every other week. You got churches that drinks. You got churches that smoke. You got churches that swap wives. It's all kinds of crazy stuff out here. New Testament only churches. You even have churches of atheist type churches, whereas though they play gospel music and all of that, but they don't believe in God per se. I call it the supermarket church. Anything you want, anything you don't want to let go, there is a church for you. Any strongholds you want to hold on to, there is a church out there for you, guaranteed. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust, they shall heap to themselves teachers having itching ears. Verse 4. And they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. All right. So let's deal with the Greek definition of fables real quick. It says a tale, an example, fiction, myth. The Greek word is muthos, an invention, falsehood. So let's deal with the fable and invention of Thanksgiving. Let's start with Smithsonian Magazine, the myths of the Thanksgiving story and the lasting damage they imbue, November 26, 2019. The myth of and this is titled again, the myth of the Thanksgiving story and the lasting damage they imbue. In truth, massacres, disease, and American Indian tribal politics are what shaped the Pilgrim Indian Alliance at the root of the holiday. The myth is that friendly Indians, unidentified by tribe, welcome the pilgrims to America, teach them how to live in this new place, sit down to dinner with them, and then disappear. They hand off America to white people so they can create a great nation dedicated to liberty, opportunity, and Christianity for the rest of the world to profit. That's the story. It's about Native people conceding to colonialism. That's the truth. It's bloodless, and in many ways, an extension of the ideology of manifest destiny. One is that history doesn't begin for Native people until Europeans arrived. That's basically what the manifest destiny is. And actually, this asks the question: what are the most poignant inaccuracies in this story? And when you understand that manifest destiny, right? When you start really unpacking that, in a nutshell, any territory they came across, like Christopher Columbus, accidentally stumbling across Puerto Rico and some of the Caribbean territories, that those people were doing bad. They were in darkness, and they're bringing light to them under whatever church they represent, the Church of Spain or whatever, the Queen. That they were in total darkness until they were found by these strangers, even though those strangers had lice all over them. Those strangers, terrible hygiene, no teeth. Those strangers, starving. Those strangers, when they landed on those islands, when it was all said and done, raped, murdered those people. I'm talking about raping 8, 9-year-olds, pedophilia, the whole nine. But one is that history doesn't begin for Native people until Europeans arrive. People had been in the Americas for at least 12,000 years, according to some Native traditions, since the beginning of time. And having history start with the English is a way of dismissing all of that. The second is that the arrival of the Mayflower is some kind of first contact episode. It is not Wampanoags had a century of contact with Europeans. It was bloody, and it involved slave raiding by Europeans. So that's just to paint a picture of what the bloodshed for Thanksgiving, right, from the Native Americans. But then taking it a step further, or the indigenous people. The earliest recorded Thanksgiving feast was held as far back as 1619 on the Berkeley's plantation. Here's a little information on that. National Geographic's The Thanksgiving Before the First Thanksgiving, November 19th, 2018. Is this article. An excavation provides tantalizing hints about a little-known group that celebrated Thanksgiving 2 years before the New England Pilgrims. Berkeley Plantation, Virginia. The autumn sun was rapidly dropping toward the broad James River when two pieces of reddish baked clay, each not much larger than a thumbnail, emerged from the Virginia mud. Mark Horton, an archaeologist, from the UK's University of Bristol, gave the fragments a lick with his tongue and peered closely at tiny patterns incised into the object. After a moment's pause, he said, "We are looking for a needle in the haystack. I wonder if this is it." Horton's needle is physical evidence from the site of the first English Thanksgiving in the New World. Interesting how we keep, even today, this is back in the 16th century, and they were looking for what? The New World. And here it is, even today, people are still waiting for the New World Order. Come on, family, we got to get better than that with how we understand prophecy. But anyway, Horton's needle is physical evidence from the site of the first English Thanksgiving in the New World, one that took place 500 miles south of Plymouth Rock and nearly 2 years earlier. Here, just 30 miles upstream from Jamestown, a little-known group of religious-minded settlers celebrated with prayer their successful voyage from England in December 1619 and pledged to do so annually on the same date. So Berkeley's plantation was a slave plantation. Let me say that again. Berkeley's plantation was a slave plantation. That's what that article didn't point out. It was a slave plantation. Here's the proof here. This is coming from their own website. Berkeley Plantation, Virginia is the most historic plantation. Berkeley's enslaved, right? This is on a section that as you see, when you click on history, it'll take you to this page here, Berkeley's enslaved. Benjamin Harris V was born and died at Berkeley, right? Or Berkeley, however you want to pronounce it. He was a member of the House of Burgesses in the Continental Congress, a signer of the Declaration of Independence, and a governor of Virginia. He also was the owner of 110 enslaved people. When Benjamin Harris V died in 1791, an inventory of his enslaved workers was completed. The inventory is unique among the surviving slaves' inventories. In the inventory, slaves are listed in a sort of genealogical style, with a progenitor listed first and descendants following. Thus, the inventory begins with a annuated, in other words, retired slave who is valued at £0. In contrast, the customary slave inventory records men first, from most valuable to least valuable, then women listed in a similar way, followed by children. Superannuated slaves are usually listed last. A copy of the inventory list is on display at Berkeley. So what is the importance of 1619? You guys already know this. What is the importance of 1619? 1619 is the year that raptured Negroes of the Transatlantic World War were brought to the colonies. Even though and I want to make this clear, indentured servitude existed prior to, but when we deal with chattel slavery, this is what we're dealing with, 1619. All right. So when we deal with rapture, I know this can make people, especially in Christianity, cringe, because they really don't understand what rapture is. But what the word rapture simply means, an act of carrying off, that's in the 16th century, which also means, it says from raptura, which means, and it says Latin, medieval Latin, seizure, rape, kidnapping, a carrying off, abduction, snatch away, rape. That's basically what rapture means, rape. Which leads me to the white lion. You guys remember the white lion from the movie? What's that movie? The movie came out back in December. Leave the World Behind. The white lion that the movie starts off with. Remember this, guys? This ship that had the white lion on it, had all kinds of symbolisms all through this movie. All right, let's give a little history on the white lion. They were originally kidnapped by Portuguese colony or colonial forces. When it says they, this is referring to our ancestors, who sent captured members of the native Congo and Ndongo kingdoms on a forced march to the port of Luanda, the capital of modern-day Angola. From there, they were ordered on the ship San Juan Bautista, which set sails for Veracruz in the colony of New Spain. As was quite common, about 50 of the 350 captives aboard this ship died during the crossing. So look at this, just so you guys understand. Out of the 350 captives aboard, it says 150 of them died. So that's what, about, I want to say about 40%. 40%. And this was the norm. 40%. Those numbers that they try to put on record is a lot higher. 30 to 50 million slaves. See, this is not including these numbers. That's not including the illegal, like even when they call themselves outlawing, for example, with Britain outlawed slavery and they were still doing it illegally. Right? So about 150 of the 350 captives aboard the ship died during the crossing. Then as it approached its destination, the ship was attacked by two privateer ships, the White Lion and the Treasurer. The crews from the two ships kidnapped up to 60 of the barista slave people. It was the White Lion which docked at Virginia Colony's Point Comfort. Today it's called Fort Monroe. And if you guys been to the Hampton Roads, you've been to like the travel through Hampton, actually just past the Hampton University exit, off to your left-hand side, just before you get to the tunnel, you'll see off to your left, if you're traveling south, or should I say traveling towards Virginia Beach, just as you pass Hampton University going down, to your left, you'll see what is called Fort Monroe. Originally, that was called Point Comfort. All right. So the White Lion was a slave ship that was used to kidnap our ancestors from another ship. National Geographic's, this is another article I want to highlight. National Geographic, stolen from Africa, enslaved people first arrived in colonial Virginia in 1619. Stolen by Portuguese, slave traders kidnapped by English pirates and taken far from home. African arrival to the colonial Virginia in 1619 marked the origins of U.S. slavery. In late August 1619, 20 and odd captive Africans first touched the soil at Point Comfort. As you see here, now Fort Monroe National Monument, as I pointed out earlier. I've been to this site here, all right, a few times actually. Part of England's new colony in Virginia. These men and women had been stolen from their homes in Africa, forced to board a ship and sail for months into the unknown. The first Africans in an English colony, their arrival is considered by many historians to be the beginning of a 400-year story filled with tragedy, endurance, survival, and a legacy of resilience, inequality, and oppression. These first Africans in Virginia were not the first Africans in North America, but they were a significant part of the ever-changing Atlantic world during the colonial era. Their travels and experiences represented those of more than 12.5 million other captives who were taken from Africa. And this is a very low number. This is a lie right here. The numbers are much higher than this, who were taken from Africa to be sold in the Americas during the 5 centuries of the transatlantic slave trade. Their story marks an important historical transition as North American colonies began to turn away from indentured servitude and instead rely on chattel, which is synonymous to cattle slavery in Africa. So guess what, family? Just the history that I share with you. Not a single Negro, not a single indigenous American should celebrate Thanksgiving at all. Not a single Negro, not a single Native American should be celebrating the holidays of our oppressors. So here's some key thoughts. As I pointed out earlier, I wanted to delve into a little bit more about Columbus. I want to delve into it a little bit more about the mindset of Christopher Columbus. So here's some key thoughts about Christopher Columbus era. Christopher Columbus discovered absolutely nothing. He had an encounter, but not a discovery. He was an adventurer, an opportunist, a willful murderer, a liar. He was a pedophile. And what he set in motion was the basis of Western capitalism, the exploitation of both Africans and indigenous Americans who had committed no crimes against Europe and did not know of European intention to conquer and enslave them. Travelers from the great African empire of Mali in the 1300s reported that the king of Mali told them of two expeditions with hundreds of boats sent from Africa west and the great oceanus Aethiopicus, in other words, the Atlantic Ocean, which was called the Ethiopian Ocean. Some evidence suggests that there may have been periods of ancient trade from Brazil. There was physical evidence of a settlement dating back to the year 10,000 or the 10th century. A little piece of history, the Dufuna Canal, is an 8,000-year-old canoe discovered by Fulani herdsmen in Nigeria in 1987. It is the oldest boat to be discovered in Africa and one of the oldest known worldwide. He never set foot, in other words, Columbus never set foot on North America, nor South America. But he set in motion a concept called divine rights and manifest destiny, meaning that in the name of God, because they had ships and basic technology, they had the right to go into other people's countries and exploit their sources, their resources, take their women, rape them at will, use their babies for bait. Maybe if he'd actually traveled to the Americas, he would have had an encounter with a group of people in what is now called Loudoun County, Tennessee, in other words, the Back Creek Stones, who wrote in a language that is of the ancient Hebrew vernacular. The Christopher Columbus era is what set in motion the following thoughts about Africans and indigenous Americans. The myth of a people waiting in darkness for another people to bring them light. The myth of a people without a legitimate Elohim, Most High, or God. The myth of the invader and conqueror as being civil by bringing order. So think about that, family. How many of you have indigenous in your family? How many of you have indigenous in your family? I know I do. My great grandmother and my grandmother on my father's side. My great grandmother and my grandmother was North American Indian. On my on my mother's side, my grandmother and my uncle were raised on. They spent their first. I'm going to say my grandmother was. I think she was up to she was 12, living on an Indian reservation with my uncle. I believe out in what is it? Barcroft or Barcroft? I can't remember the name of it. Started with a B. Bancroft, I believe, Georgia, the Indian reservation out there. And actually, my grandmother picked cotton as a little girl when she was 4 or 5 years old with her grandmother. Interesting information, right? History to show that we're not that far removed from slavery like we think we are. Right? To be honest, slavery didn't officially end until 1995. All right. But anyway, why would you ever want to celebrate Thanksgiving after knowing what you know now? Why? Why would you ever want to celebrate Thanksgiving knowing what you know now? You've come too far. Don't look back, family. We've come too far. But don't turn back. I know it can be hard, especially around these times, with family members ostracizing you, separating from you, all because of what? You decided that you're going to honor the law, statutes, and commandments according to Scripture. And they want to ridicule you for doing what thus saith Yahweh, doing exactly what the Scripture says, and not celebrating and honoring these man-made holidays. Don't operate in the spirit of Lot. Don't operate in the spirit of Lot. What I mean by that, real quick, Genesis chapter 19, starting at verse 32 through 36. I want to close out with this key point. It reads, "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father." This is Lot's daughters, and I'm going to start with them, but I'm going to bring up a key point for you guys to understand the story of Lot. Verse 33, "And they made their father drink wine that night, and the first one went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she laid down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also. Go thou in and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. Also the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father." So the question that when I did a deeper discovery on this years ago was, where did the daughters get the liquor from? Where did the daughters get the alcohol from? Where did they get it from? Let's go to verse 15, still in chapter 19. "And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take thy wife and thy two daughters, which are here, lest thou be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered," see, this is the key to Lot. Lot really didn't want to leave. The angels had to grab him by the hand. Look at here. "And while he lingered, Mahamah, the men laid hold upon his hand, Yod, and upon the hand of his wife, upon the hand of his two daughters, Yahweh being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth and set him without the city." Verse 17, "And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for thy life, look not behind thee." In other words, don't look back. Neither stay thou in all the plain. Escape to the mountain, lest thou be consumed. Now, people, peep this. Let's deal with the word linger. Let's deal with this word linger real quick. Right? It says here, to question, to hesitate, to be reluctant, delay. So this tells us that Lot apparently questioned. He hesitated. He really didn't want to leave. He was reluctant. The angels had to pull him by the hand. He was procrastinating. So Lot was reluctant to leave. So the very thought of leaving home, businesses, and possessions, his attachment to the world and the things of the world, made it very difficult for him to leave. The two angels grabbed the hands of Lot, his wife, and daughters, leading them out of the city. When the angels led Lot and his family outside the city, the angels warned Lot and urged him to escape for his life, to flee to the mountains, out of the plain, lest he be consumed. But what happened now was almost unbelievable, that Lot still craved the world. Let's go to verse 18 through 20. "And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Adonijah," in other words, Lord. "Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight, and thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed upon me in saving my life. I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die." Verse 20. "Behold, now the city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. Is it not a little one? and my soul shall live. So as you see, Lot did not want to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. He was looking for excuses. So think about this. His daughters they stopped looking at Lot as being a father. Why? Because Lot threw them under the bus. Let me say that again. Lot threw his own daughters under the bus. He had strangers come into the city. He invited them to his home. Some homosexual men, which you will see with the Levitical priest, the Levite and his wife situation, similar. They refer to the homosexuals there were sons of Belial. They were Benjamites, right? But in this case, these men came knocking on his door saying, hey, send us out the men. We saw new men walk in here. In other words, new meat walk into your home. Send them out. And what did Lot do? He threw his daughters under the bus. He made it clear to them that his daughters were virgins, never been with a man, and say, hey, take my daughters, do whatever you want with them. Threw them under the bus. Similar to the situation in not Genesis, but Judges, I believe, chapter 19. But the difference is the Levite, instead of protecting his wife and the stranger who allowed him to stay in his home's daughter, he threw his wife out there to the sons of Belial, and they molested them, sodomized them, did everything unimaginable to them, to the point that his wife, the Levitical priest's wife, died from the trauma of being molested all night. So Lot threw his daughters up under the bus. And also his hesitation had an influence on his wife. Lot may not have turned his head around to look back, but he still looked back. He didn't have both hands on his wife. He had one hand on his wife and another hand on his liquor, right? Despite the dangers and firm warnings, Lot pleaded against Yahweh's will. Lot claimed to be physically incapable of reaching the mountain, that he might not be able to climb it in time to escape the destruction. But this was a camouflage, self-deception for a worldly heart. Yahweh was saving him from the coming judgment, and Yahweh had strengthened him for the journey to the mountain. Lot knew this, but Lot pleaded for the right to escape to Zoar, a city nearby. So why didn't Yahweh spare the city? Lot was a major disappointment. He begged to stay close to Sodom, to the comforts of the world he had known. Lot was still trying to hold on to the world, to his possessions and comforts, which includes his liquor, even after Yahweh had just done so much for him. So, in other words, Lot had issues. That's why the Most High told Abraham that there's no one righteous, no one worthy to save the city. He delivered his nephew, but Lot's path, Lot's behavior wasn't enough to save the city and the men that went out there with him. So I'll say it again, family. You come too far, don't look back. What are you trying to hold on to? Like Lot, are you holding on to these man-made holidays? Like Lot, are you firmly holding on to bacon, holding on to shrimp? You right? Like Lot, are you looking to turn back without turning your head? Let me say that again. Like Lot, are you looking back without turning your head? Israel had a history of turning back without turning their heads. Israel created a man-made holiday disguised as feast days because they were straddling a fence, mixing and meshing. Amos chapter 5, verse 21 confirms this. I despise your feast days. And this is what the church will take out of context to try to assume or teach deceptively that Yah rejects the feast days of today. And that's an absolute lie. The reason why Yah, and I'm going to show you, let's let the scripture speak for itself on why Yah rejected the Israelites in this text during the time of Amos, why he rejected them honoring the feast day. It says that I despise your feast days, and I would not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings of your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beast. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. But let judgment run down as water and righteousness as a mighty stream. But this is what they did. Have you offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years? O house of Israel, but ye have borne the tabernacles of your Malach, and to own your images, the star of your God, which ye made to yourselves. And I'm going to say this, brothers and sisters, you got a lot of deception even among this awakening, because many of our brothers and sisters will come up with all kinds of reasoning and logic trying to justify the six-pointed star, the hexagram. That is not the Star of David. That is not the star of King Solomon, because some would say, well, it wasn't actually David's star, but it was actually Solomon's star. Come on, family. How did Solomon die? How did Solomon die? He died not in the ways of his father. He died worshiping these images right here, these different gods and goddesses of the women that he married. He was honoring worship. He was worshiping Malach. He was worshiping all this here. So if you want to say it's the Star of Solomon, it's a pagan star, no matter how you slice and dice it. The Babylonians had their stars. You know, when you look at Semiramis, when we really start studying, they had all of this come from everything outside of the will of the Father. But you have brothers and sisters that try to justify this stuff. A lot of our brothers and sisters are into all kinds of Jewish mysticisms. They're reading out of the Zohar, reading out of the Talmud, pumping themselves on the chest that they are able to read this Israeli language that's not biblical Hebrew. That's Israeli language, disguised as ancient Hebrew. But they pumping themselves on the chest, pulling out the Mishnah, literally. Pulling out the Mishnah, pulling out the Talmud, pulling out stuff like this. Let me just show you something here. I'm going to show you my camera. Let me bear with me 1 second. So pulling out stuff like this, right? This is the Midrash, right? One of the books of the Midrash, right? Which I don't go into this stuff. My mother, and I've had to go into this for my mother to show her the craziness that is within this. All right. My mother, been practicing this for 40 plus years. So family, flee from this stuff. Flee from this stuff. But let's see the response that the Most High have to this. Look at this. Therefore will I cause you to go into captivity beyond Damascus, saith Yahweh, whose name is the Elohim of hosts. So because of this, Israel went into what? As you see here, captivity. Family, the Most High is not playing. Why did Amos declare that Yahweh hated and despised Israel worship? I gave you the answer. Because Israel openly professed that they believed in Yahweh and wanted to offer up praise and thanksgiving to him, but their profession was false. Their profession was false. No matter how majestic or beautiful it seemed to be, Yahweh rejected their praise of him. Down through the centuries, The descendants of Israel had continued to worship false idols, the so-called gods made with human hands. They participated in all forms of idolatry from astrology. Let me say that again. The Israelites participated in all forms of idolatry and astrology, lifting up their gods to sit on the highest pedestal and imagining them to be exalted as high as the stars above. At times, Israel had gotten so bad that they would attempt to eat swine in what they thought was hidden areas. Read about that, Isaiah chapter 66. So, family, we are required to abstain from evil appearance at all times, the appearance of evil at all times. So, family, we want to stop right here. Don't want to go too long with this. But again, not our Thanksgiving. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let me give a quick shout out here. I see a super chat here from Cedric Lewis. Thank you for the super chat, family. Let's show some love and support to Cedric Lewis. And I'm going to just say again, family, be encouraged, be encouraged, be encouraged. With that being said, in the words of the Most High that he gave to Moses in Exodus chapter 14, verse 13 to 14, he gave him these words of encouragement. He said, fear ye not, stand still. See the salvation of Yahweh. These Egyptians that you see here today, they will never have power over you ever again. The Most High will fight for you, but here's the kicker. We must hold our peace. Can't go back. Can't stay here. Keep moving forward. Shalom.
Listen, Genesis chapter 11, verse 10 explains the genealogy of Shem. Shem was a black man in Africa. If you repeat this back, Genesis 14, verse 13, Abraham steps on the scene. Being a descendant of Shem, which is a fact, means Abraham too was black. Abraham, born in the city of a black man, called Nimrod, grandson of Ham. Ham had 4 sons. One was named Canaan. Here, let me do some explaining. Abraham, Isaac was Jacob had 12 sons, for real, and these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10, these were the children of Israel. According to Genesis chapter 10.